is criticizing and besmirching people who have come to bring skills which are needed in that economy. So migration is always informed by some of these exigencies, and we encourage. We need a lot of skills across. We have developed skills in mining in Botswana, extraction. We believe that those skills are exportable. And so our people will migrate, will come to Zimbabwe because there are mining houses and opportunities here, and they should be free to do that. So migration in that sense is also a very good thing. And so I think the answer is exactly that. But I also said, when we deploy some of these technologies, we must make sure that even on the other side of the border, these technologies are there and they communicate efficiently and seamlessly with each other so that there is no lag. And we think that we will achieve that. Thank you.
Your Excellency, President Mnangagwa, you want to add something? Oh, okay. Could we have the second question from possibly the Zimbabwean side?
Broadcasting Corporation. There is a commemoration which is done at Lesoma every year where 15 Botswana soldiers lost their life during the struggle for independence here. And Botswana commemorate that day. We have a similar situation where Zimbabweans are invited to commemorate with the Zambians at Kavalamanja. Are we likely to see Botswana and Zimbabwe commemorating this loss of life of Botswana and some Zimbabwean guerrilla fighters? Because President Mnangagwa underscored about this 28th of February 1978 situation.
I take it the question is to both presidents.
Yes.
Over to Your Excellencies.
I'm not so sure as to what the questioner seeks to know. He seems to know better than we do. However, I believe that the events of that era, when stated by the circumstances of that era, we may today give interpretation because we are in a situation which is not the same as that time. But I believe that it happened because it ought to have happened, or it was necessary for it to happen. I'm not so sure the intent of the question as to what you would want explained about it. Because I believe the person who asked the question knows far much more than what he has asked. Because I know him too well. But for the purpose of this meeting, I will ask my dear brother to say his part on that issue.
Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I understood the question to seek to establish whether, in the same way that Zimbabwe holds a joint commemoration with Zambia in respect of some tragic loss that occurred in the course of prosecuting the liberation struggle, Botswana and Zimbabwe will jointly commemorate the Lesoma ambush, where 15 members of the Botswana Defense Force died. I I'm not certain whether there isn't already such a joint commemoration, but if there isn't, it would be an unfortunate oversight. We need to elevate some of these historical occurrences and give them due recognition because they chronicle the heroic efforts and sacrifices that were made by people in Zimbabwe and in Botswana. And one of the grave injustices that we will do ourselves is to ignore some of these historical markers and references. We need to not only commemorate but teach in our schools, in our institutions. If you look at Vietnam, one of the things that they do, and they do very well, is to inculcate in their children as they grow up a sense of their history and where they come from. They will teach you about their heroes, the Ho Chi Minhs, the battles of Dien Bien Phu. You realize that it is important. In India, by a certain grade, they have encouraged their learners to understand certain provisions of their constitution and to be able to recite them off the cuff. We need to have our learners appreciate this history, lest we forget, because it is some of these shared tragedies, these collective joint sacrifices that bind us together more than we appreciate. And so I think it is important for us to ensure that some of these events are given the recognition that they deserve and that they are jointly commemorated. Thank you.
And it just been explained to me, I wasn't aware about this incident. It's just been explained to me that in 1978, that in 1978, 15 soldiers were killed on the 28th of February by Solu scouts from Rhodesia. These were Botswana soldiers. Yes. I think it's a matter which we can consider, and between ourselves, Botswana and Zimbabwe, think about how we can commemorate these gallant sons of Africa, Botswana and Zimbabwe. During that time, 1978, it was before Zimbabwe became independent. We were still a colony. And Botswana had become independent. And Botswana supported us in our armed liberation struggle. And the colonial regime here in Rhodesia was very cruel. And countries like Botswana, Zambia suffered a lot of injustices meted out against their people by the Rhodesian regime here of Ian Smith. So we should extend our solidarity and express Zimbabwe's solidarity with these comrades. Perhaps the two states, the Republic of Zimbabwe and the Republic of Botswana, can discuss as to what we can do, what can be done in memory of these 15 soldiers who sacrificed their lives for the freedom we enjoy today. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. Just to give you more information, the questioner actually stayed in Botswana as a refugee, alongside many other Zimbabweans who were looked after during the struggle by the people of Botswana. Yes, maybe, Ruben, to
Can you explain you're a refugee?
You want to greet the president of Botswana in Siswana?
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We stayed in Botswana. I entered Botswana earlier in 1975. Stayed a bit before I proceeded to West Africa, but I came back when I went to the University of Botswana, and we were working at the Gaborone office of the ruling party, led by the late Brigadier General Kananga, Comrades Menard Mzarire and others. We were kept at Chief Gaborone's home in Tlokweni for many years. And he contributed a lot. And at independence in 1980, he came here. So Gaborone, Botswana was a home for us, for many of us. Many passed through Botswana, including the Vice President, the late General Shiri, the current political commissar of ZANU, Comrade Machacha, went through Botswana. So we were refugees there, many of us, and we were kept by Botswana. So Botswana kiko high for many people. And the Lesoma thing, there were zebra cadres. We really don't know what the Rhodesians did with them. There were 3. One was killed, the 2 escaped. But I've been to Lesoma, and I know the memorial, just 20 kilometers from Kesani. And I know it's now your Heroes' Day, and we appreciate the contribution you gave. I know some of us stayed in prison because that was the safest place Botswana could keep us. Nobody was safe. Everybody had to go through Botswana prisons because the Rhodesians were abducting us whenever we were going to Zambia and up north. So Botswana kept us from there to the airport, then to Zambia. So we appreciate the contribution you made. There are so many of us who went through Botswana. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Comrade Ruben. Can I have the third question, the penultimate one?
Good afternoon. My name is Boemo Dibela Nyaza from Botswana, Radio Botswana. This one is directed to President Mnangagwa. In 2024, during the 4th Bi-National Commission held in Botswana, in Maung, Zimbabwe had made a commitment to join on the Kazungula Bridge linkage. How much work has been done on that regard?
Thank you very much for that question. I'm not very clear about how much work has been done. I don't know whether the Minister of Transport is here. My Minister of Transport is here. Honorable Minister Monadu, what work has been done?
Thank you, Your Excellencies, and in particular, Comrade Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa. You tasked the working party to work on the issue of Kazungula, and I'm happy that work has progressed. We only have one stumbling block pertaining to the issues of beacons. So this is the issue to do with the boundaries. And I'm sure it has been escalated and will be guided accordingly. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. Can we have the 4th and last question on the Zimbabwean side?
Good afternoon. My question is directed to President Boko. My name is Godfrey Marawanyika. You spoke about transformation, ownership, breaking through the barriers. Just wanted to find out, if Botswana is still interested in getting a controlling stake in De Beers since the bids closed last week. Thank you.
The answer to your question is a resounding yes. It's a matter, I've said, of national sovereignty. It's an existential issue for Botswana. And we are on top of the issue. We've had to engage very creative, very profound ways of getting where we want to get. And it is my belief that we are almost there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. And maybe let's give them one resounding pam-pam before we close this event. All that remains is for me to thank, on behalf of the media, our two leaders for affording us this very energetic, interactive opportunity. A very good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, we have come to the end of this session, including the press briefing that you have given to the media. I think this is the end of our BNC. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, comrades.
We're still at State House, where proceedings of the Zimbabwe-Botswana Binational Commission, the fifth session of the Zimbabwe-Botswana Binational Commission, is still underway here at State House. Now, we've seen the signing of the Memoranda of Understanding, which happen to be 10 of them. Now, these memoranda are focused on several key areas, such as economic and trade promotion, where a Memorandum of Understanding was signed to focus specifically on economic trade and investment promotion to benefit both countries. Now, in aviation and safety and rescue, agreements were reached on coordinating aeronautical search and rescue services, as well as cooperating on civil aircraft accident investigation. Now, when it comes to agriculture and livestock support, Botswana, or rather the Republic of Botswana, committed to supporting Zimbabwe through the provision of livestock vaccines and facilitating access to genetics. Now, when it comes to cross-border security, both countries agreed to enhance police cooperation to combat livestock theft and cross-border crimes. Now, when it comes to infrastructure and connectivity, the leaders noted ongoing investments in transport corridors, energy and border infrastructure to improve regional connectivity and the movement of goods. Now, when it comes to the support of small businesses, that is SMEs, the leaders also signed an MOU to promote and develop micro, small and medium enterprises in both nations. Now, when it comes to defense and correctional services, new agreements were established for cooperation in defense training. Now, it's a lot that has been signed and that is happening here, but we're going to return it straight to pockets where Ian Wambe is on standby. Ian, over to you.
Thank you so much, Tafara, for breaking down these MOUs that have been signed at the 5th BNC, where we witnessed that the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, together with his Botswana counterpart, President Duma Gideon Boko, signing and also explaining some of the development work that has been done, and of course calling their ministers who actually signed these MOUs to say now time of signing is done. It's time to work. We are still in the studio with our economic analyst, Mr. Titus Mukowe. We are going to break down briefly before we round off the program. Now, Mr. Mukowe, we have seen the 10 MOUs signed. What does this mean for the two countries now going forward, given that the ministers, heads of state, have committed to say, let's work together going forward?
Okay, I think taking from both the heads of states,
right,
the MOUs are now there. What is remaining is to operationalize them. Mm-hmm. So they have done their party as the principals in facilitating. We know that it has been going on for the past 3 days, the technocrats, then the ministers, then the principals themselves. Mm-hmm. So the policies are there, the MOUs are there. What is now left is for it to be operationalized. And what I really like about the binational commission that is there now is that it has timelines,
right,
yes, and accountability. Mm-hmm. And there's a commitment to make sure that whatever that has been agreed today is being implemented, and there are monitoring and evaluation processes that are there. And next year there's going to be the 6th one, where they're also going to evaluate how the MOUs that have been signed today have been implemented, and there is a commitment from both countries in making sure that whatever that has been agreed, the 10 MOUs that have been signed, are fully implemented. And it has been very intentional from both head of state and the country of Zimbabwe, Comrade Emmerson Mnangagwa, as well as the head of state and country of Botswana, that it should be operationalized to make sure that both countries will actually benefit from it. They would want to see increase in the volumes of trade by minimizing non-tariff barriers, and there's always some tariffs that were there. So at the end of the day, what the MOUs are intending to achieve is going to benefit both countries. And the positive that I took from today is the commitment by both presidents to make sure that the MOUs are operationalized.
Right. Mr. Mungowe, thank you so much for explaining these things. And obviously, earlier on, we also witnessed that business conference that was happening in Bulawayo for the ZITF. Just briefly, before we round off the program, what do you want to see happening, or what would you like to say to people who are going to attend ZITF, those already there, regarding this business conference and how it's going to shape the work they'll be doing?
Okay, so the major takeaway that I also took from ZITF after the presentation by Honorable Vice President Chiwenga is that he deliberately made a pronouncement or a commitment to make sure that we also move from policy formulation into projects. Then those projects through ZITF would want to see beneficiation, would want to see improvement in transport, we want to see improvement in infrastructure. So these two major events that took place today, their intentions are clearly the same. What the two heads of states were actually made as concluding remarks was that way that MOUs should be turned in, should be operationalized so that we see the end results. What the Honorable Vice President in Bulawayo actually alluded to in his also concluding remarks was that we need to see policies being turned into projects and see tangible outputs. So these are key important events that took place today, and everyone, every economic agent and every economic space or level was touched on, be it at micro level, be it at national level, at ZTF, even at BNC, and at international level, international cooperation. We are seeing these bi-national cooperations being pushed so that we see the end results. We need to see improvement in terms of trade amongst us. We need to see growth in value chains development within the two countries. And the memorandum of understandings are quite clear and the intentions are quite clear, and we are quite happy with both events that took place today.
Mr. Mgowe, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure to be there.
Very clear clarion call from both events that took place today to say it's time. Of course, the documents have been signed, MOUs have been signed. Now it's time to work and bring the results. And allow me to say thank you so much to all the crew that was, of course, at ZITF bringing us that live business conference, and the crew that was at the State House right here in the capital city giving us the proceedings that took place at the Bi-National Commission at the State House. From myself, Ian Wambe, the crew right here at Pockets U Studios behind the scenes, stay tuned to ZBC TV.
As we recap the success stories of the NDS-1, we turn our spotlight to the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, the custodian of Zimbabwe's voice.